Thanks, Mom.
All right. And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Killing Even More. I am Karyn Bryant here with
Megan Olivi. Thank you guys so much for joining us for yet another week of Killing Eve Breakdown.
Yes, so Killing Even More, we have one episode left in the season of Killing Eve. Tonight was episode 7, Beautiful Monster. And Megan, before we went live here, I was telling you, I absolutely loved this episode. This might have been my favorite so far. So many things happened in this one, but overall, how did you feel about this episode?
It was stressful. I felt very stressed. Like, I liked it, but I felt very stressed. There were times where I was like, oh man, please don't be doing this. And we're so invested in the characters. And so there was a lot that happened to almost everyone in this episode where you're just like, oh, this is so much to take in.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and first and foremost, I should say, and we have a live chat going here, so if you guys have some questions, I've got it here, and we should be able to answer your questions and talk to you in real time here, so hopefully that will work out. I am wearing something in honor of Eve-Villanelle out on the golf course. Like I said, this was my favorite episode for a lot of reasons. We'll get into them multi-layered. But here she is golfing in her furry green jacket and pants. So I pulled out of my closet this is an old Nicole Miller that I've had forever. And I believe I might have worn it on an episode of Name That Video on VH1 years and years ago. So, Megan, you know, there's certain pieces of clothing that you have where you're like, I know I don't wear it every day. I might not even wear it this year, but I can't get rid of it. This is it.
Yes. You should never get rid of that, by the way.
I know, by the way.
You're channeling, like, Villanelle looking beautiful on the golf course. I'm channeling Irina in a detention center for her maroon sweatshirt because I just really felt like, you know what, she needs a shout out because she's going through some stuff. So here we are.
She's definitely going through some stuff. And I don't even know where to start because literally I loved this episode so much. So I don't know if we want to go through it sort of like as it happened, or do you want to start with characters? Like, what stood out to you the most?
Well, let me just say, I was very disturbed. I was reactive to Villanelle's boss kind of coddling her and touching her, which she even said was inappropriate. I was like, wait a second, what is happening here? This is really weird. They're somewhat threatening each other, but like she's sexually harassing her. So I was very not into that. And I was surprised it went that way because she seemed kind of like a very put together woman about town. Like she held herself to a very high standard. And then here she is inappropriately touching Villanelle. And I was uncomfortable watching it. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And for Villanelle to address it was interesting as well.
Yeah, it was. And what was so fun about even just starting it, right? So she goes in for this meeting and it's in a place where there's a million things I could murder you with, right? There's like literally knights and there's joust, there's like every kind of sword and everything. And of course Villanelle's like, well, I would kill you with the chair, which I thought was kind of funny anyway, that she's like, that chair right there. But yeah, that scene had so much tension. And what was interesting is obviously there was another killer there, right? Where so Elena's like, well, if I could send you, if not, I can just send this other one. So she's like, yeah, you have this promotion and yeah, you're rising up in the ranks, but don't get too comfortable because we can clearly replace you and you can't really challenge me either. Like it was definitely a real power struggle, like a power pyramid, right? That the three of them were in and they were trying to figure everything out. But something that I thought that was interesting there, right? Because this whole theme of family maybe this season, right? Is that we know that Villanelle did something awful to her mom and she starts to kind of confess a little bit about it, but doesn't. And then I was literally like, well, here she is getting some human connection. Is this going to be a maternal figure for her? No.
She says, you're a beautiful monster, Villanelle. And you can see that hit a nerve. And it's almost like, I don't want to say repetitive what her mom said, but it's very similar theme of how her mom treated her.
Exactly. And that's what's so tough is that it's like Villanelle can get male attention very easily, right? Because she's gorgeous and all this stuff. But like the women attention that she gets is always tempered with these other things, which is so interesting, right? So yeah, she calls her a beautiful monster, which was the name of this episode. And she also says she loves her because she's an agent of chaos. And she's hugging her, and Villanelle actually even starts to come to some tears. And I thought that line was so interesting, an agent of chaos. Like that is what she is. And then you started to feel that like maybe Villanelle starts to feel bad for being that.
Yes, I thought that as well, because by her crying, but then I felt like, were they setting up Villanelle because they know she's not doing things the way they hope, and I want to say by the book, like there's an assassin book, but
right.
She's kind of doing things rogue, and she's a wild card, and they know that about her, and they sort of alluded to, oh, do you want to confess anything? And I think they know she does things her own way, and it's almost like we're going to acknowledge that, and we love you for it, but we're going to see where this goes.
Yeah, it's weird because they love her and they made her who she is, right? But I guess it was like a warning, right? Don't get too out of control. Don't get too power hungry. Don't get too whatever, because there's always somebody else that we can take instead, right?
Oh, you truly are. Yep.
Right. So then there was a couple. Okay, so if we move through that though, on that idea though of Villanelle as the villain, like. And then there was the later on when she and Dasha were like, okay, so who gets to do the kill, right? And there's still, again, that power struggle. And there's so much about Villanelle trying to assert her power in this one. And later on, so here we are in the Gulf, and ergo my furry outfit. This episode I thought was funny because you weren't really sure who the mark was, right? For a long time. Yep. And we get to this scene, spoiler alert, and you think that Villanelle is about to take a swing at this other guy, and she takes a swing, there's the guy you think is the mark. She takes a swing at Dasha instead. So what did you think when that happened? Because I kind of freaked out. I didn't expect it. And then when I thought Dasha was dead, though, I was kind of like, all right, cool.
Totally agree. I was like, oh, thank God, she's terrible. Like not that she's like bad for the story, but she's like a terrible person. So like she should be gone. So, I actually thought that the golf in general was a ruse, and that they were not even going to try to get any of their attention, and that Villanelle was going to try to take Dasha out somewhere on the golf course without any like third party even being involved. I just thought, she's going to come up behind her, she's going to hit her with a club or choke her or whatever, and that's going to be the end of that. Right. So I called him over, and then I thought, oh, okay, this is actually it, and she's pausing before she kills him, and there's, Dasha's getting to her, and there's this and that. So when she swung on Dasha, I was surprised at that point, because I thought if it's going to happen, it's going to happen way earlier.
Right.
And then actually my husband Joseph was like, is she dead from that? And I was like, I think she's really old. Like, I think. Wasn't. We find out much later.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting. And then, certainly when Eve gets there, I thought then for sure Dasha's time on this earth was coming to an end. And then, the lady has 9 lives, I guess.
I guess so too. So here, first and foremost, right here we have a shot of Eve with Dasha as well. Oh. And same thing. I at first thought I wasn't 100% sure that Villanelle's swing had taken her out, because it only looked like one, and it didn't look that strong. And to be honest with you, Megan, I do golf, and I almost backed it up to see what iron she hit her with, because I literally started to get like a little bit weird, like, well, which iron was it? Because some of them, depending on where you hit them, I got my little notes here, would make more damage. So anyway, but I wasn't convinced that Dasha was dead from the hit. But the whole time I did think, is this guy really the mark, right? Because we haven't heard a lot of backstory on him. And a lot of time there's at least some sort of setup as to why the guy is getting killed, right? So there was none of that, and then you got there, and I still did those sort of think maybe he was the mark, especially too because before when she was talking to Elena, she's like, well, I need to go do this kill, and she's like, well, there's nobody available, and she's like, well, I'll take Dasha. And so then it was like, okay, well, I'll just take Dasha to go to the work, but then she wanted to end up killing Dasha, and then at the end when you saw, like you said, the reveal that Dasha's not dead and neither is Konstantin, and then I was like, well, who's the mark on this episode? Right. And I got a little confused, but I actually was pissed that Dasha wasn't dead.
Totally agree. Especially when she taunts Eve. I mean, she's taunting Eve.
Right.
Nico.
Right. And yeah, he has the Stalin mustache, and your husband, so she's talking total mad crap to Eve. So I thought for sure.
Eve is well aware in that moment, okay, this is the woman that did this to Nico and forever changed his life and our relationship and everything. And so I see her stepping on her chest, and I just think like, oh, she looks like she's doing it very lightly, but maybe she is breaking her sternum and it's for TV. I don't know. But then she just was like, I mean, I thought that was so weird. I thought, why isn't Eve just finishing this? Like, that is I don't know if she felt bad about the kills she had, last season.
Right.
But one of those things, like, no, she's taunting you and she did that to your husband. Like, no, end that.
Yeah, no, and that's the whole thing, right? Because she loves Nico and she's pissed at this woman effed with Nico.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, so I really thought she was killing Dasha.
Yeah.
But then I guess maybe in the back of her mind, she's like, this woman will bring me to Villanelle, and I love Villanelle even more than I love Nico. So maybe that's why she didn't go all the way. But from the way they shot it and everything, like, I thought Dasha was done. Right.
Yeah. It was very tricky, and they got us good when
they got us good. Hold on, let me see if we have any theories here from folks watching. We will get to some fight questions, folks. We should say, like, usually the two of us cover fights, and so we've got some questions about some fight things. Okay. We will get to those, folks. Definitely, for sure. But listen, so a couple of other notes that I have here. So let me back up then on a couple of things. Okay, so, where do I want to back this up? Okay, gosh, there were so many good things in this one. Okay. Let's back it up a little bit to just the golf in general and why I thought this episode was so fun. So they went to Scotland, they went to Aberdeen, and Wade, if you can hear me, we have some shots of Dasha and Villanelle checking into the hotel, which I thought was really fun. This was very rich in clothing as well. So Dasha with the Burberry scarf on, Villanelle wearing this great outfit that we have here. But so they go to Scotland and they're checking in and she's like, oh, am I Scottish or am I German and this and that. So there's the shot of Villanelle in a Charles Jeffrey jacket there. It is $1,296 and it has this great metal chain down the front and down the sides, which is so cool. I thought they looked so cute. And then also Villanelle is wearing this great skirt, which actually comes from the menswear line of Charles Jeffrey. That's a boy doing the menswear. It's a little Zoolander, I'm not going to lie. But this is the menswear line, but that kilt looks fantastic on Villanelle as well. And so on this one, for my show and tell, Megan, here's my old Moschino jacket that I've had for ages and ages and ages.
So good.
And it is plaid, and I love it. And I would have put it on here on top of the fur, but I would have died. But I will say the menswear line and the plaid and all that stuff I love, and also the Scottish thing I love because I'm part Scottish. So so my mom's maiden name is Walker. I'm literally related to like Johnny Walker of the Walker Scottish who make scotch and all that stuff, like somewhere down the line. So at some point in my life, I need to go to Scotland. It's something my mom and my brother and we have spoken about, going to trace the family roots, and we want to go find the Walkers in Scotland. Also, my brother and I are avid golfers. So there was so much about this episode that I was just like, okay, I really need to go to Aberdeen, and I really want to go to Scotland and all of that. So the golf part aside, I loved. But one thing I wanted to ask you about on this one was, again, we don't see Eve and Villanelle together too much, and we see them circulating, and we saw that Eve was just minutes behind Villanelle. Minutes behind. They saw each other on the train and this and that. So for you, like, how satisfied are you with how much we're seeing them together? And I kind of was hoping we would see them actually have a moment either in Scotland or somewhere together on this one.
I think I'm the outlier. I'm the minority in this because I enjoy the cat and mouse that they have. I think it's really interesting and it's keeping like things really moving, and we're seeing a lot of different locations.
Yeah.
We're seeing like it's almost driving Eve insane, and I think like that is adding a layer to who she is and how she's making decisions as well. So I kind of enjoy it. I like that they're barely like they saw each other through the window and stuff, because I just think it's I don't know. For me, I just think it's keeping things moving forward, and I just enjoy seeing them both like, oh, maybe I'll see her here, and then like it kind of pans out, but not really. So I actually am like the weirdo that is like, oh no, this is going great. I love it.
Well, there is something to be said, right, in romance, in anything in life, of like the near misses and the coincidences and and like we just were breathing the same air, right? Like there is something romantic about that. Yeah.
But we saw them like kind of see each other through the glass and have that really quick moment as Constantine we thought was laying dying.
Right.
So I also was like, how are both of them just leaving him?
Right.
To find the other at this point, or well, really Villanelle to find the money. But like, I just thought, okay, this is very telling as well.
Yes, true. Okay, so let's talk about that moment, because I literally thought Constantine was dead, and I started freaking out, right? So we're sitting here, and I'm watching with Wade. I'm like, oh no. Like, I started getting like really, really, really upset at the idea of Constantine dying, because we talk about how his imprint is on everything, right? So he's such a linchpin to everything. Yeah. So yeah, your reaction here in these moments, Wade's got these shots up here where you thought it was the end.
I thought he really died. I thought I was like, no, don't do this. Not another key character. Like, no. And even though he's a bad guy, I like Constantine.
But is he a bad guy though?
I enjoy watching him, and I enjoy like the things that he comes up with and his plans and trades he gets into. So I was like, oh no. But I have to tell you, I know that he was alluding to like not feeling great throughout the episode, where he's kind of like holding his chest a few times. Right. I was weirdly suspicious. I thought, okay, well, Carolyn's daughter was at his house the night before.
Right.
They were supposed to have wine and steak. And there was wine out.
Right.
Did she maybe put something in there that is affecting him the next day? Kind of like we heard about the nerve agent and stuff that has, real life background to what's really happened. And I know, because I actually just read an article a couple of weeks ago, that Killing Eve has been basing a lot of what happens in these seasons on real life murders that have happened.
Okay, so my mind is just blown here, because I didn't even think of Geraldine having anything to do with Constantine. Like, you just totally blew my mind there.
My God, thanks. No, I don't think, because he went to the hospital and they're like, sir, you had a massive heart attack. But in my mind, I thought, something funny is still happening with Geraldine. It's still happening. I don't think that we're seeing the full picture of it. I don't know.
No, for sure.
Obviously, it's not involved with Carolyn. Like, maybe it's Carolyn's staff. I have no idea. But I just thought it was strange that the night before, she sneaks in. She somehow gets in. She wants to feed him. There's wine on the table that's open.
I didn't even think of that.
I mean, it's probably not right, but I'd like to have a good theory, so that's my theory.
No. I think you're onto something. I'm just amazed that I didn't even freaking see it, because we've been saying all along that Geraldine might be working for the 12 or like who knows what. I totally didn't even see it, right? Like, so, because I thought when the guy walked by and bumped him, and then, obviously we figure out that we think that it's the guy that maybe did something and bumped him or whatever. But I even said, when they were having, and I know I wrote some stuff down too about that too, because I was just like, when they're having the wine and this and that, and I was just like, I remember sitting there going, this is just weird. And I'm saying, wait, I'm like, this is just creepy. I'm like, she shouldn't.
I was creeped out.
Mom's like lover, like, what are you doing?
Right.
And then he's like, and isn't it her dad? I'm like, I don't know, but like the whole thing just made me weird, and the whole idea, like even if it's not her, I mean, obviously, if it's her dad, that's totally weird. Right. But just the idea of like
the figure should be enough to stop.
Exactly.
You.
The whole thing kind of freaked me out, and I didn't like any of it.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I didn't even consider that Geraldine did something the night before.
Which could mimic a heart attack, or he really,
totally.
Life. The guy has a lot of stress on his plate.
A lot of stress.
So also be a regular heart attack. But I just thought this was, because they could have picked any scene, right? They could have picked her doing anything.
Didn't even think of that.
So I thought that was particular, that is how those two spent time the night before, and then we see less than 24 hours, really, but a crazy 24 hours. So it could be either, but I do think, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow we find out that Geraldine is like
I didn't even think of that, and that just totally blew me away, because I totally didn't even think of that. Thank you for the toker giving us some a donation here, talking a little bit about Connor. So the toker, maybe we'll get to some fight stuff here in just a minute. I want to make sure if we have some other questions and stuff like that. But here's the thing. So that idea is very interesting, and I really actually love that idea, that Geraldine is not just completely innocent. Because part of me feels like you can't be badass Carolyn's daughter and just be some little goody two-shoes. Because Carolyn, the more I watch the show, the more I'm like, I wish I knew Fiona Shaw. And like, I don't know if she's like Carolyn, but I'm like, I wish. Because like Carolyn, Carolyn's a chick I could go out and have like one of those lunches where you don't drink, Megan, but like one of those 5 glasses of wine lunches where all of a sudden you're like, how did lunch turn into 7:30 at night? Like, right. I feel like Carolyn's that woman.
I agree. And I also think it's a little particular that Geraldine is forcing the issue of staying in her mom's house.
Yes.
Because she is an adult. She could live down the road or whatever, but she's in her house. She's always wanting to know about her mom's day and what's happening with her mom. And I think by this age, she would have learned you can't ask mom a lot about work. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like she's a little kid and like, oh, mom, how was your day? She's probably learned you can't really ask a lot of questions, and because, she does particular work that she can't share with you. Right. So the fact that she's always kind of asking and then like the weird, I don't think she really even likes Konstantin, but here she is just trying to get information out of him. Right. And, yeah.
And it's weird, and I actually wrote a note here that where I said Constantine says he used Geraldine to spy on Carolyn. So he so it's like, there is something really funky going on.
Is Geraldine Constantine's watcher now at this point to track his movements and and get information out of him or do things to him? You know what I mean? It's shady.
It's shady with the 3 of them. And what if Constantine is Geraldine's dad though?
I hope that's not true because I
hope that's not true too. Okay, so a couple of things I want to ask you about with Eve. There was a couple of things. At one point they said that Eve has a Messiah complex. Okay, so I looked it up. And a Messiah complex is when when a person believes that they are destined to become a savior, and or they believe that they are responsible for saving other people and helping other people. When they were, she's there with the guys at the Bitter Pill, and that's all been torn apart and all this stuff, and the whole idea of the Messiah complex. And it is a whole interesting thing with Eve and Villanelle, right? Like on the one hand, you think, is she just purely in love? Is it romantic love, or is it this Messiah thing? Is she trying to save Villanelle? Like what is the actual psychology behind their relationship? Is it as bad as good person trying to catch evil person? No, right? Because they've gotten way past that. And Eve has found the good in an evil person. The evil person has found bad in the good person. Like so much blurring of the lines.
I also think it's a weird competition of sorts.
Yeah.
Where they become obsessed with each other. And yes, there's like this lusty part of it, but there's also like, I almost feel like the other doesn't want to lose. So like if Eve gives up and Villanelle continues her behavior or hurts somebody else that she loves, I mean, she's losing to Villanelle, but it's like, I can't do that. And then Villanelle doesn't want to lose to Eve and have, the 12 be caught or shut down or whatever it may be because they're her employer. So I also think there's some level, and I don't know how like high or low it is, but I do think there's a level of competition
for sure.
That's also really fueling things, which continues to make it so interesting because it's not like, oh, I just love you, and like, we're not seeing that, but we know that there is that underlying sexual tension with them as well. But it's like, where does it all stem from? Yeah, it's deep, and I feel like we're barely peeling the layers of the onion.
Well, and also the fact is that last season at the end, Villanelle's like, baby girl, run away with me, I love you. And then she says no, so it's like, well, I'll shoot you instead then. So I definitely agree that there is a competition of like, which one of you, is Eve going to pull Villanelle to the good side, or is Villanelle going to pull Eve to the dark side?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, we're not going to find out, I guess, because there's one episode left.
No, we have one episode left. They did get picked up for another season, which is great. So we're loving that. Okay, so a couple of other things. Here we go. So since you were dressed like Irina in the detention center, which, by the way, Irina is awesome. Freaking girl. Woo! You love that girl. Like, how can you not love that girl? So I got to look it up again because I had done the whole translation thing because he said something really funny in here. He said in the thing, he said, because he's talking about how his daughter is so smart. And he said something to her. He goes, in the detention center, he's like, oh, it's like getting told to eat a dick in Icelandic because it's so weird. But they're so this is how you say it. I'm going to hold it up to the camera on my translate thing. I looked up how to say in Icelandic. I don't speak Icelandic. Borau? I don't know. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. But one thing I thought that was so interesting about the idea of Irina in the detention center is like everything that the doctor is saying that she does and manifests is Villanelle. And meanwhile, Constantine made Villanelle. So then the whole time I'm like, did he just make another killer in his own daughter? And so...
For sure. I mean, she learned from her dad, whether she knew she was learning from him or not, picking up traits and stuff. But she has zero regret. I mean, she's like, oh, if I could rewind, I wish I could rewind time so that I could run over his body again. And you're just like, what? You know? And then she really doesn't care about the fallout of any of it. She only cares that her dad may leave her. That abandonment issue seems to come up a little bit where he's, I have to leave. And she's like, no, like, you're just saying that to me to scare me. And he's like, no, I'm leaving you. And so I think that's the only time we actually see her get scared. Not like, oh, I murdered a guy. Like, I'm bragging about it. Or like, these bitches want to shank me. Like, it's fine. You know?
She got all excited about the shank. She's like, it's a fork and a shank.
It's so good. Yeah, no, exactly. And so, I actually did think, though, that Konstantin was going to be able to pay them off. I thought, oh, okay, they're going to accept the bribe, and then she's going to leave.
Right.
But they didn't. She has to stay there. And they made it sound like, oh, maybe for a couple of weeks we have to do all this stuff. But she could be in there forever, and that was where Villanelle was when she got recruited. She was in a jail.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Is so the whole point is that he might be more worried about actually losing her to the dark side as opposed to, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if anything, he'd be like, look, that's my baby. If she's going to be a bad girl, let her be my bad girl. You know what I mean? Or something, because obviously no matter how you feel or whatever you do for a living, like, it would be incredibly stressful for your child to not be with you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that was his dream this whole time, was to take his daughter and leave and go to Cuba, or take his daughter and leave to go wherever they were going to go. I mean, as much as they have this bickering relationship that seems very unhealthy, he made his plan to make sure Irina was going with him.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love that girl. Is awesome. She does such a great job on the show, and they give her such fun stuff to do. Like, I always think about that for the actors. Like, this is one of those shows where I'm just like, they just must be like fired up to go to work every day, because it's fun.
Fun, good clothes, great dialogue, exciting plots. Like, they're probably like, oh, what's gonna happen to our characters? You know? Yeah, they like finding out as much as we do.
Totally. Absolutely. Now, a couple of things that I also thought were very funny, because again, there's always these lines that are so good. When she said, they were talking about going to Russia, and what Villanelle said, like, Russia has vegans now.
It's very different.
You and I have been to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, John Gooden, who we work with, who is a full-on vegan, when we were in St. Petersburg, they may have vegans in Russia. They don't have a lot of vegans in Russia, because I sat there with our friend John Gooden, who sat around eating a lot of beet salad.
Oh, yeah. I don't even remember eating any. Oh, no, I do remember going out to eat one time, but like, I don't remember the whole eating situation that well in St. Petersburg, except that we had these chips that were crab flavored chips.
The crab chips, right? Exactly.
Oh my God, don't ever eat those.
No, so when we were in St. Petersburg, I drank a lot of vodka, and I did have a little salad, and I think I found some fish stuff, you know what I mean? That's mostly what I ate. But so then there was a couple of good lines here in this one where they were talking about their Stanislavski acting method as well, which is interesting. If people are actors, Stanislavski is there's a few different method acting, like ways of acting, and but he was like, no, I'm not acting. This is real. Okay, so we lost a couple people. We lost Mo also in this episode at the end there, and Carolyn had him following Paul at the beginning, and it was kind of funny. And I sent you a picture of Paul, the guy from The Office, if you want to pull him up. But Mo was chasing. So here's Mo and Carolyn, and they were in the restaurant, and Mo said he was basically following Paul, Carolyn's skeevy boss guy who came in, and we don't know what his deal is and if he works for the 12 or what. And he's like, oh no, he went to yoga and he went to something else, and he's like, oh, standard white people stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So the verdict is still out on Paul and on Carolyn, but now the fact that Mo is dead too kind of sucks, because that was an ally for Carolyn. So what do you think is the deal with that?
Well, I mean, we saw the woman follow him, so it was like you don't know if was she following Paul to protect him, or was she following Paul to also see what he has been up to.
Right.
And Mo seemed to have just been in the way. She overheard his conversation, and then the next thing we know is that he is dead in that very park. So for me, they previewed that same woman being with Villanelle next week, but for me, I'm wondering if she was protection for him, or she just doesn't want Carolyn and her team finding out the things that they already know. Like, they want to handle whatever situation themselves. Right. So I'm not quite sure, but I was sad because I really liked his character. I thought he was putting up with when Carolyn's in the bath and they're still having a meeting and they're doing this. Like, I thought he was great. So I was bummed. I was bummed when he was in the pond.
Yeah, I was bummed for Jamie too. I mean, for Mo too. And then, one thing I think I really like about the show is that we see guys like Mo, right? We see, Jamie at the bitter pill and Bear, and like, this show has done such a great job of casting just real people. Yeah. And that's one thing that, you and I both here are based in America. I feel like a lot of countries kind of do that better than America, if I'm being completely honest, that like everybody here, if this was a show in America, would be, super hot and skinny and weird sides. Like, I felt like this show represents a lot more just real people, which I think adds to why I feel that you can connect with them more. Like, they just seem way more authentic.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. It's not something that I had thought of that often, but I think that's really truthful. Because if you just look at the people who work at the Bitter Pill, that looks like any other tech company you would walk into.
Yes,
this makes sense. But you're right. It might not be portrayed that way if this show was made somewhere else. So it is interesting, and it's helpful. It's helpful. It just makes you feel like you are watching normal drama unfold. You know what I mean? Not beautiful, stylized Hollywood version of it.
Right. Because most people are not drop dead gorgeous and walking around in $4,000 outfits.
They make up for it with Villanelle. So there's like
totally.
normal Villanelle,
right? Exactly. Normal Villanelle. Thank you, Little Snoop, for the donation. Much appreciated. All right, so here's a couple of things that I wanted to. One thing that was funny here, if we're just going over through a couple of lines too, was when Villanelle asked Dasha if her son has the same halitosis.
I think we're going to see something happen with that son too.
Well, right, and honestly, as it was kind of a throwaway thing, but Dasha was really getting a dig in on Villanelle there. She's like, look, I'm a killer, but I also still have a family, and look at all these things that you did, and you killed your mom, and, we know that you don't have a family, and you're seeking. Look at how much better I am than you. I'm not only your teacher, but I taught you all this better stuff, and I even was able to do this and have a family. I have so much more flair, and like, I think that was also another thing that just eats away at Villanelle. Why, like, obviously Dasha's competition for her anyway. Right. But I thought that was really interesting when she said the whole bit about having a son and all that. And that was like a real dig that you could tell she really wanted to hurt Villanelle.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think Villanelle's going to investigate this son. I think we're going to see her interacting with him in some way in the future, because that's her way to get at Dasha. Because if she takes away the only thing Dasha has outside of her job, then what does she have when Villanelle takes away her job? You know what I mean? Right. So I do think we'll see that come into play. I don't think they said it just in passing. I think they said it because we're going to see something happen.
Right. And now we know that both Dasha and Konstantin are in hospital beds. There's all kinds of visitors that could come to the hospital. There's all kinds of terrible things that could happen in a hospital. Here we go, because they're like literally a bed away. And that's the thing, yeah. Like I am definitely imagining, like Villanelle and Eve and Constantine and Dasha and Dasha's son in like a hospital, and who's in the room. Like there's a lot that could happen next week.
Yeah, or like one of them just not being like able to sleep because they're scared. Like, you sleep with one eye open if you know this person next to me wants to kill me. And right. Then, like, are we just going to see, like, or did we go through all this drama to see, like, somebody get smothered with a pillow in the middle of the night? You know what I mean?
Right. And how much, but how much did Dasha and Constantine know each other?
I don't know, but I bet they have history if they've both been doing this for so long.
Right, because I guess that's what I'm asking, is to confirm that we don't know how well they know each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think so, unless we both missed it, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever really put the two together, but like you said, there's no way, if they've both been working and all this, like there's no way they're not even like aware of each other and or
right, old partners in crime or old colleagues.
So good. God damn it, we only have one episode left.
I know.
All right, let me just.
I hope that they were like all the way done filming season 4, and we'll get to see it like ASAP.
Yes, I know, and that's the whole thing, because obviously we don't know like what production schedules are on things. Okay, so we have some people talking about some other things or whatever. Hey, I want to throw up a little bit of the fashion. We do look at things on Instagram. Jodie Comer Closet is kind of a fun spot that we go to sometimes. So if we can bring up that plaid jacket again, Wade, just as a reminder, this was really a lovely look when they were checking in Aberdeen in Scotland. So, yeah, did you? I mean, I don't know how you feel. I love plaid.
Love it. All my plaid was black and white, so I didn't.
Okay, yeah. So this is Charles Jeffrey again, and so the blazer and it had this whole metal element to it, and then the skirt is actually, I guess, a kilt from the menswear line, Charles Jeffrey. But I love that. I think that looks so good, and of course it looks like Dasha's wearing the Burberry. So here, Megan, I wanted to show you this, and also all of our viewers. So my dear friend Carolee, who was my stylist at MTV when I was a VJ at MTV. Yeah, she's awesome. She sells fabulous shoes with Saks Fifth Avenue. So she just started on Instagram, a new account on Instagram to sell the shoes there. So she's Carolee _ Saks Fifth Avenue. So right now she's pumping a lot of these beautiful Chanel like sneakers and sandals and things like that. And she can ship, and she can, like mail them to people, or if you live in LA and you want to come by and pick them up, she can do that. It's a funny thing, right? Because I don't know how you feel like, some of us have been going through our closets in this time at home and this and that. And like, on the one hand, you're like, well, material things don't mean as much because I just want to see my friends. But then on the other hand, you're like, when I come out of COVID, like, I want to look bomb, you know what I mean? And so if people do want to sort of explore some fashion, my friend Carolee sells like really great footwear for men and women. So even though she's showing a lot of women's wear there, she can totally hook the guys up too.
Awesome. I love that. Good job, Carolee.
Yes. She's really cool. So, so if there was anything left, we can get to some things beforehand, but we do know. Okay, well, some people are just asking about some other things here. So we have one episode left, and next week too, we were saying Wade had gotten together some cool fan art that people have been doing for Killing Eve. So maybe next week we should show some of that off and everything. But I'm a little nervous for next week because I kind of want it to be like a 2-hour episode.
I know. I totally agree. I feel like, is it going to be just a million cliffhangers? Are we going to get a resolution to anything? But I think it's just going to be like 8 cliffhangers at the end of it. It's flown by, and I don't know. I think that's because we're in quarantine, but I hope people are getting like more attention on the series. But I also hope that they were like pretty much wrapped up with filming when the lockdown started, so that we can just get right to it, because this has like really been a dramatic season where we've seen a lot of different storylines come about, and I think it's been really fun. It's no longer just about Eve-Villanelle. Now there's all these different things that are happening within their worlds, but still like a little bit outside their orbit. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because with what you just said, and that's exactly why this season I think has been getting some criticism, though, right? Because people kind of, the first season the show comes out and it's inventive and it's new, and then the second season was so amazing, and that's the one that I fell in love with first, right? And this is fancy killing and all this stuff, and it's fun and it's comedic, and it got so much attention. And now this season they're doing like real work here, right? With character development and art and all this stuff. And even you and I have been a little critical. We've seen less of the fun kills and stuff like that, but you're right. Like, I feel like when we do come out of this season, though, we will have actually moved so much more forward in their lives and in understanding who they are.
Yes, no, I agree. Because a lot of times I feel like in season 2, which I loved as well, my favorite season, we would have one day be like 2 episodes. Right. You know what I mean? Whereas here we're really carrying things along. But it's always interesting with the show because they get a new showrunner every season.
Right.
So, you know, who will do season 4? What is their ideals of the show going to be, and how are they going to represent that, and how do they think the characters should move along? And like, yeah, this one was darker. This one wasn't as fun.
It was
as whimsical. It wasn't as like youthful and beautiful as seasons 1 and 2. So I do hope we see like a brightness and more beauty, that kind of stuff, a little more whimsy in season 4. Just even if it's just in how she dresses or their locations, not so dark.
Not so dark, right? But at the same time, it's almost like if you're gonna have a show about a killer, there's gonna have to be some dark times.
True. Totally agree. It happens.
But I guess what it is just really understanding so much more about like what goes into make a killer, and it's actually, if anything, sometimes sort of unnerving in how little it could take to flip somebody, though, right? Like
one decision, Well,
I don't know, man.
TBD.
I'm just trying to be a good mother over here, Megan. I got a baby girl, 13, trying to be a good mom.
She's the best.
She's awesome. Well, listen, folks, we obviously will have a new Killing Eve next week, Killing Eve and More, but it'll be the last one. As I mentioned, a lot of people on our timeline here asking us about some fight things, because Megan and I do work with the UFC, and there's fights next weekend. Today, I spoke to Dorino and Mackenzie Dern. Yesterday, I spoke to Corey Sandhagen.
Awesome.
I know you'll be working next weekend. What are you thinking in this one? Because when I talked to Dorino about fighting Tyron, I was texting T-Wit, and like, he's like, I'm in a violent mood and I've never been more ready to put the hurt on somebody. And meanwhile, Dorino's got all this great momentum, and this is his first main event. It's a huge fight for him.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I'm actually not working that card. I have off that one. I worked the following weekend. Yeah, so I'll be watching that one from my couch. No, I think it's, I think it's a really fun main event. I am sad we have lost, for the time being, Leon Edwards and Tyron Woodley.
Me too.
Fight that I just thought was going to be incredible. I thought it was going to do a lot for the division, kind of answer a lot of questions. But obviously, travel issues kind of, get in the way of things. So I think this is really fun. And I bet that Tyron Woodley is fired up. I bet. I mean, all these changes that are happening, there's so much going on in the world. He's prepared to fight. He's prepared to fight this guy. And now he's, there's so much going on that I think he just wants to get back in there and make a statement. But it's not going to be an easy task, certainly, with Gilbert Burns. So I'm really looking forward to that main event. I think it's going to be super fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and I was supposed to be in London for that one, for Leon versus Tyron, and that was the thing. Like, I've known Tyron for more than 10 years, so when he became the champion and all that, like, there was a real big part of me that felt like, not like I won too, but like I felt I felt really good about that. You know what I mean? I've known him forever, so I was ready to go to London, and of course we didn't get to go because that was like the week where they finally decided, to shut down all the borders. So if I'm being completely honest with you, Dorino has so much going for him and so much momentum and such a great skill set, but I would not want to be the one to come in and fight Tyron right now after being off for a year, after losing your title, after getting denied these other things. Like, I would not want to be the person across from him right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but you know what? The reason our guys are the best and gals are the best that they are is because they have every just belief in themselves, which is step one. And so, but I also think interesting, he also has been out of competition for about a year. Right. So it affects people. It doesn't affect people. It can be a motivator. It can be something that stalls for you in the beginning rounds of a fight. So there's a lot to be answered there. And I just think everybody's kind of in for a treat with this one.
I think so too, and that was the whole thing because Dorino has all the momentum, and so that's the whole thing. Is like he fought 4 times since Tyron last fought. So the ring rust could be a whole real thing for Tyron. Absolutely. I'm not trying to discount Dorino's chances at
of course.
The guy beat Gunnar Nelson and then beat Damian Maia. Like, come on, dude. He's on a 5-fight win streak. So yeah, I don't discount him at all. Also, I had a great conversation with Mackenzie, though. She's such a lovely girl, and we were talking so much about, it is different being a woman. Yeah. And she got a lot of criticism after coming back for her last fight. It's the first time she lost, and it was 4 months after she had her baby. And so we talked a lot about that, and just like people's expectations for what women should and shouldn't be once they become moms and all this stuff. And she's such a nice girl.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah, so she's fighting Hannah Cipher, so I think that's going to be a really good one. So we're going to put those up as well. I know, it's just cool. And of course, with Corey Sandhagen, he's taking on Aljamain Sterling. Those two guys are trying to get to the title shot. And actually, when I talked to Corey about that, he liked this fight a lot too, because he's like, look, we have a very similar skill set here, because I said, hey, I think this is going to go a round and a half or something like that. And I was like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Like, you can't finish him fast, or Aljo can't. Like, you guys are just both so good that I think you're going to defend each other for a while, and it's going to be a minute. And he's like, yeah, no, I agree. Like, we're pretty well matched. So I think it's going to be a fight.
I love that fight. I thought we might lose that when Henry Cejudo retired, but I'm so glad we kept it. And then the winner, because Dana said Peter Yan is going to get the first title shot, so I assume that the winner there, I don't know anything, but that the winner there would then go on to face Peter Yan for the title. But that's a really, really, really fun bantamweight matchup. Also love those guys. Everybody's so great on our roster.
I know. It's so good. All right. Well, listen, folks, we are starting to emerge and come out of this. I know some of us are still staying home. We here at my house, still very cautious. We wear masks when we go out, and we don't go out very often. But for, and if I'm being completely honest, last week was probably my hardest week at home. For some reason, just certain things hit me a little bit harder, and I missed people a little bit more and whatever. So I know a lot of people are struggling. We do have the suicide prevention hotline number up for folks. This is a number that is important for people to have nearby. Use it for yourself, use it, send it along to a friend, anybody that needs help and has some concerns. Like, I know for me personally, I've been getting a lot of exercise, and I think that's helped. The positive endorphins from that have helped kind of counterbalance things. But yeah, it's weird. I'm in general a very upbeat person, but yeah, there was a couple days last week I was like, this blows. Yeah. And I'm done.
And it's normal to feel that way, and we all have our peaks and valleys, and you're not weird if you feel that way, or you're not feel weird if you feel like you need to talk to somebody. Like, you'd be surprised the amount of people who have. It's just not something that the world feels comfortable sharing with one another yet. Maybe we'll get there one day, but you're definitely not alone.
I hope so. Yeah, we have to end the stigma for sure. And thankfully, we have fun shows like Killing Eve to take us out of it. But literally, I'm like, it's that joy and the pain of only knowing there's one left. You're like,
I know. Yeah, well, we'll look forward to it. It'll be a fun one, that's for sure. I know that they're going to end the season with a bang, so it'll be
they definitely will. All right, well, let me see if there's any last comments here before we get out of here. But all right, folks. But we do appreciate everybody, like Little Snoop and Cyberpunk here, and we got a lot of folks watching. Jeff Georgie, loving our hustle. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. So on Instagram, I am KB Heat. You can see there Karyn Bryant on Twitter. You can follow Killing Even More on Twitter and on Instagram. And Wade Eck, our producer, you can follow him as well. And of course, Megan, where can they find you?
At Megan Olivi, just my name.
Simple. Okay, so I gotta go change out of the furry because it is warm here in LA, and I'm quite warm now, but I do love it. And now that episode made me want to go golf because I haven't been able to golf in a while. I have my own clubs and everything, and we don't have a Top Golf here in LA. Obviously, you have them in Vegas. Yeah, so we don't have Top Golfs here, and so the last time I've gotten to play was in Florida, like with my brother and stuff like that. And I've literally, like on Twitter, like DM'd with the Top Golf people. I'm like, yo, when are you opening in LA?
Yeah.
And I have one in El Segundo, and I haven't been. Anyway, I do love the golf, so don't be surprised if one day you see me out there in this golfing. But to the makers of Killing Eve, thank you for this episode because I loved it.
Oh yeah, no, it's been fun. We'll see you at next week, Chris.
Yes, folks. See you next time. Thanks for joining.
Bye.